Hello and welcome to A Short Story Scene. I'm your host, the storyteller, and here we have a tale for you called Inferno by Dante Alighieri. Canto 32. If I had rhymes both rough and stridulous, as I appropriate to the dismal hole, downward upon which thrust all the other rocks, I would press out the juice of my conception more fully, but because I have them not without fear I bring myself to speak. For it is not enterprise to take in just, to stretch the bottom of all the universe, nor for the tongue that cries, Mama or Boba, but may these ladies help thy verse of mine, who helped Inferno and the enclosing Thebes, that from the fact the word be not diverse, but rebel ill begotten above all, who's in this place to speak of which is hard. 'Twere better ye had the here been sheep or goats, but we were down within the darksome well, beneath the giant's feet, but lower far, and I was scanning still the lofty wall. I heard it said to me, Look how thou steppest, take heed thou did not trample with thine feet in heads of the tired, miserable brothers. Whereat I turned to me round and saw before me underfoot a lake, that from the frost and semblance had of glass and not of water, so thick a vial never made upon this current. In winter time done it be in Austria, nor there beneath the frigid sky the dawn, as there was here, so that if Timbernich had fallen upon, or Petropan, ever at the edge would it not have given of creek, but as the croak of frog doth place himself with a muzzle out of water, when is dreaming of gleaming oftenness the pleasant girl, livid as far down and where the shame appears, where the disconsolate shades within the ice, setting their teeth unto the note of storks, each one his countenance held downward bent, from mouth the cold, and from eyes the doleful heart. Among them witness itself procedures. And when the round about me somewhat I had to look, I downward turned me, and saw two so close that the hair upon their heads together mingled. Ye who so strained your breasts together, tell me, I said, who are you? And they bend their necks, and when to me their faces they lifted, their eyes, which first were only moist within, gushed over their eyelids, and frost congealed, and tears between, and locked them up again, and clamped, never bound together wood with wood, and so strongly, whereat they, like two he-goats, and butted together, and so much wrath overcame them. And one whom by the reason of the cold lost both his ears, still with his visage downward, said, Why dost thou so mirror thyself in us? If thou desire to know who these two are, the valley whence Byzancio descends belong to them and to their father Albert. They from embodying all Cana, and thou shalt search through, and shall not find a shade more worthy than the fixed in gelatin, not he whom a broken breast and shadow, and won the same blow by Arthur's hand, Focacia, not the he whom me encumbers. So that his head I see no further forward, it bore the names of Silico Mistrneroni. Well, knowest thou who he was, if thou art Tuscan, and that thou put me on no further speech, know that I, Commissione de Pazzi, was the weight at Carlino in the externate me. Then I beheld 1,000 faces made of purple with cold, whence over me comes a shudder, and evermore will come at the frozen ponds. And while we were advancing towards the middle, where everything was weighed unites together, and I was shivering in the eternal shade, where it's whither the destiny or chance, I know not, by the walking among the heads I struck my foot hard in the face of one. Weeping he growled, Why dost thou trample me? unless thou comest to increase the vengeance of Montepierti. Why dost thou molest me? And I said, My master, now wait here for me, that I through him may issue from doubt, that thou mayest hurry me as thou shouldst wish. The leader stopped, and to that one I said, who was blaspheming vehemently still, Who art thou that thou reprehendest others? Now who art thou that goest through the Anternora smiting? Replied he, Others people's cheeks, so that thou were living twere too much. Living I am, and dear to thee it may be, was my response. If thou demandest fame, if the mid of other notes thy name I place, and he to me, for the reverse I long, and take thy hence, to give me no more trouble, for ill thou knowest the flatter in this hollow. Then by the scalp behind I seized upon him, and said, It must needs to be that thou name thyest, or not a hair remain upon thee here. Whence he to me, Though thou strip off my hair, I will not tell thee who I am, nor show thee, if on my head 1,000 times thou fall. I had his hair in my hand already twisted, and more than one shook of if he had pulled out, he barking, with the eye held firmly down. When he cried another, What doth ail thee, Boca? 'Tis not enough to clamor with thy jaws, and thou must bark. What devil touches thee? Now I said, I care not to have thee speak, accusing traitor, for unto the shame I will report of thee veracious news. Begone, replied he, and tell what thou wilt, but be not silent if thou issue hence of him who had just now his tongue so prompt. He whippeth here in the silver of the French. I saw thou cantest, thou phased him in the Dura, and there where the sins stand out in the cold. If thou shouldest question, be one who else was there. Thou hast beside thee him in Bercaria, and whom the girt Florence asunder. Gian del Soldaner I still may be, and yonder in Galion and Tibildello and Opfernaza, when the people sleep. Already I was gone away from him, when I beheld two frozen in one hole, so that one head a hood was to the other, and even the bread through the hunger is devoured. The utmost unto the other set his teeth. There were the brain is to the nape united. Not to another fashion Titus gnawed, and the temples of Menelaus is disdained. Then that one did the skull and the other things. O thou who showest such a bestial sign, thy hatred against him whom thou art eating, tell me wherefore, said I, with this compact, that if thou rightfully of him complain, if knowing who ye are, and his transgress, I in the world above reply, be it for two. If that were with I speak not dried up. And that concludes Inferno by Dante Alighieri, Canto 32. If you like this content and like to support it, please head down to Patreon. That is www.patreon.com/shortstoryscene. Thank you, Jack, for being a patron, and thank you all for listening. See you next episode. Bye.